Before I start, take a minute, look at the information box below the video and download this image so you can join the color along and today the little story about Russian Christmas. Hi, it's Dia. Today is day 4 of the 12 Days of Christmas color along. We're going to be using the 120 set of Castle Art colored pencils and also the 60 set of gouache. Although actually the only color we're going to be using from that whole set is the titanium white. And that's what we'll start with first because, those are the 2 brushes that I thought I was going to use, but I actually only ended up using the Escoda very small round brush, and I'll put all the information below. So I opened up the gouache. Now, gouache is a weird word. I didn't know what gouache was for the longest time. I put a little bit in that little daisy-shaped paint mixer. Information below also. I love that thing. You can put a little bit of water in the center. And then what I did was mix, I diluted the gouache, the titanium white gouache a tiny bit. And I did this because in my last video, no, I'm sorry, it was day 2. I tried to make the Piper's pants cuffed looking, and they weren't cuffed when I drew them. So what I did was go over it with white gel pen. It didn't work. And then a wonderful follower named Angel Atlas said, it will work if you use gouache paint. So I couldn't wait to try it because I knew I was doing the little lady dancing today. And in my head, I wanted her to have a white puffy shirt on underneath her traditional Russian celebration outfit. And right away, it really worked. I didn't cover it 100% completely. It wasn't like I completely removed every indication of black that was there. But as you can see, it worked quite well. And I covered the lace on the bottom of her dress too, because underneath that, what's going to be the red part of her dress is going to be a white lace, almost petticoat sticking out. So after I finished that, to speed things up, I took my handy dandy Conair blow dryer and I just hit that gouache, and it dried pretty quickly actually. And here was the moment of truth. So I took the first Castle Art pencil. Let me see if these have names. This was number 94. It's almost like a dark-ish periwinkle color. I love this color so much. And since that dress was going to be white in my head, I started to fill in where I thought the shadows and the details of the lace collar and her little puffy sleeves. And I didn't want to make it look like it was blue or periwinkle. I just wanted to give the indication that her blouse had creases and puffs. And I have to say, Angel Atlas, you were 100% right. So thank you for the tip. And if anybody ever has tips for me, I would love to try them, and I appreciate them so much. Since our little lady dancing is dressed in traditional Russian celebration garb, I thought that I would play a little Tchaikovsky in the background from the Nutcracker. He was a Russian composer, and he did write all the music to the Nutcracker Suite. This is the overture, and a little bit later I'll play Trepak, which is the Russian dance. So I thought that would be fitting. Whoop, let me lower this a little bit. I think all of the music is beautiful. So I left this in real time just so you could see where I was putting the shadows and just to see how you can leave white space in an image. And not that it's perfect. This is a little, it's a little fun picture, and it's a little bit cartoonish, but I do always want to make it look pretty, and I want it to be fun for you too. So now I'm just doing some of the lace at the bottom. Nothing fancy, just some indications of ruffles and shadows, and the color, that color number 94 is perfect for this. Now, the covering part, the bib and the skirt, I went over so many times in so many different reds because what I was going to say is I didn't want it to be too red too fast, because there has to be room for the pleats and the shadows. And so I started with kind of an orangey red again, number 21. And that skirt took the longest. It should have been so simple. I should have just colored it in, because I will, in those little spots in the circles, I will eventually use gold. And I'm so excited to tell you about that, because it's one of my new favorite things by Deco Color. Oh, so good. So what I did on the bottom here was just go back and forth with several different color reds. And in the crease area, I initially used a darker red. It didn't quite work enough. It almost looked boring. It looked bland, and there wasn't enough difference. So I kept going back and forth, and I cut a lot of it out because probably not all of you would fuss over this as long as I did. So while I'm coloring the red part of her dress, I thought I would tell you a little bit about Russian Christmas. As a little girl, I always celebrated 2 Christmases. One, the Christmas that a lot of people in America celebrate, which is December 25th, and one on January 7th, because being Russian Orthodox, we also celebrate holidays from the Julian calendar, and we also celebrate New Year on January 14th. So we were always lucky enough to celebrate Christmas with the rest of the world, and then have our own private, really lovely traditional Russian Christmas. I don't know if any of you know this, but there's a tale, or it's a Russian tale. It's called Babushka. Oh, you know what? Let me just interrupt myself for a second. I'm just going to be drawing her little shoes. All I did was draw little patent leather looking shoes on her feet here. So Babushka is an old lady, and she's seen walking through the streets, and she's always in a hurry. And the only time she ever stops anywhere is Christmas Eve. So people wondered, is she Santa's wife? Is she an elf? But she's not. And what she does on Christmas Eve is pop in to any home that has a new baby, and she quietly tiptoes up the steps, takes a peek at the baby, sometimes touches his little cheek, and leaves a present. Sometimes it's candy, sometimes it's a little toy, and then she quickly goes away and goes to another home. And it almost sounds a little creepy until you know the story of Babushka, and I'll tell you that right now. What I did for her face is use a very peachy tone, and I left the center of her face kind of lighter than the perimeter, just because I thought her skin would be very light, she would be very fair, and I made her cheeks very pink and in a very circular kind of doll-like look. So a little bit different than our other 2 figures. So let me quickly tell you about Babushka. So the story is that thousands of years ago, Babushka lived in the most northern, coldest part of Russia. And one night, she was sweeping her front steps because the snow was falling and falling, and she saw many figures in the distance. And she saw animals, and she saw people, and she saw lights twinkling in the sky. And this band of people was coming toward her, and she was afraid, and she ran into her little hut. And she lit a fire, and she tried to pretend that they weren't there. Here's her little pinky cheeks. And then she looked out her window because somebody started knocking on the door. And she saw 3 figures dressed in beautiful robes and had crowns, and they had gems on their robes and their breastplates, and in one of their hands she could tell was a golden liquid called myrrh. Another had a bag of money, and another had a sweet-smelling bag of incense. And they kept knocking, and she tried to ignore it, and finally she had to open the door because they were so ferociously looking for her. So she opened the door, she peeked out, and I'm drawing just a little bit of shadows here and there. And they said, "We're looking for a very special baby. He is the new king. Do you know where he is?" And she said, "I don't know where the baby is, but you're going in the direction of a town, and you can follow that big northern star over there." So they said, "Please come with us. We would love for you to see the new king." And she was so scared, and she was so taken aback by all this activity. She closed her door, and she snuggled up in front of her fireplace, and she just convinced herself that she just didn't want to go. I'm just coloring the flowers here. I pretty much stuck with colors that I thought would go with the dress, and I used yellow and red, and even that same periwinkle blue, and some black for detail. So Babushka stayed in front of her fire. And then in the morning, she thought to herself, was that a dream? Was that event, did it actually happen? And then she realized it did happen because she saw the broom that she was sweeping the way with hung up right by the door. She put it there when she creaked open the door for her visitors. And as the day went on, she regretted not going to see the king. And as time went on, she realized she was there by herself. She was all alone. And she thought she missed a great opportunity. So she couldn't bear to be in her home anymore. So she packed up what little belongings she had and sold any of her special items. So she had a little bit of money. And with all that money, she bought sweets and she bought toys. And she started to go from town to town looking for that very special baby that she saw on December 24th. So every year she would go look. So when children in Russia wait for quote unquote Santa, they don't wait for Santa. They wait for Babushka to walk by on Christmas Eve with toys and treats. So they press their little faces against the cold windows and they look for a huddled up little old woman. And they wonder why she's always in a hurry. And the story is that she's eternally looking for that special baby. And some tales say that she will find that baby one day. Babushka also means grandmother. So I don't know if in the story, she's actually supposed to be interpreted as a grandmother or that kind of, old, kind woman. So, okay, so what I did here was I finally gave up trying to do purple and red. I finally took the black and deepened the creases in her skirt, and I finally liked it. Now for her hair, I wanted her to have like a golden brown kind of hair. So I took first number 10, which is kind of a wheat color. And I started in the corners, sort of. You see how it's kind of I don't know what shape that is. it's like a little pod. So in the pointy areas, I made those the darkest. And then I took a lighter version of that same color, sort of like a sunny sunflower color, and started going closer to the inside of that curved area. So wherever I'm leaving the lightest will be the area that looks like it's the highest in her hair. I also left some areas just white. Now that color, that's one of the darkest ones. That's 70. That's like a nice mahogany brown. And the color, the parts of her hair that are closest to her ear and in the back, in my opinion, would be the most in the shadow. So anywhere that you want to recede or you want it to look a little farther away or darker, that's where you put the deeper colors. And then I went over the lines a little bit, and you can do this in any color you want. You know, even if you want to make her hair blue, you just do the lightest and then eventually go to the darkest, because it's much easier to go over light with dark than vice versa. So now that she's starting to look like a little girl in a true Russian celebration outfit, I wanted to play this song from the Nutcracker called Trepak, or Russian Dance. And everybody probably knows this song. There were certain things that we ate on Russian Christmas versus regular Christmas. There was a poppy seed bread, and there was I don't know what it is, sort of a little side dish that was made with barley, and it's actually called kachu. So we, of course, had many jokes about that. Let me make this a little softer. And what I wanted to add a little bit of, I wanted to add some more ribbons because I wanted there to be a little bit more color. So I added a red and I left one of them white. I didn't really go into a lot of detail like I did with the Lord a-Leaping. And if you want to see that, I will, of course, link the other days below so you can see the other days being colored too. I really like the way she turned out. Oh, here was my favorite part. This is the Deco Color Liquid Gold. So what I had to do was shake it up a lot and then push, and then eventually, ooh, the gold sort of worked its way down. And I filled in those little spots on the bottom of her dress because in a lot of Russian dancewear and costumes, there's a lot of gold, a lot of red, black. And this worked out perfectly. You can't really see how much it reflects right now, but I will pick it up in a little bit and sort of move it back and forth in the light so you can tell. I made her little buttons. Well, they're not really buttons, but the eyelets around either side of her white blouse. I filled it also in with that gold. It worked great. I do have to tell you, it's got quite an alcohol or chemical smell to it. So make sure you have the windows opened. So I hope you like that little story. If you did, let me know because I love telling stories and I could add them to the videos and I think they're really fun. And tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Let me think. 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a-leaping, 9 ladies dance. Tomorrow is the maid a-milking, and I'm also going to do the little cow and the little bucket, and that'll be the video for tomorrow. Oh, what I'm doing here is I'm taking the best shadowy purple color in this set is 37. By the way, this set, this 120 set of Castle Art is great. So it's an awesome price and it's pigmented. It works lovely. It's not a review, but definitely Definitely a good product. I'm doing her belt right now, and for some reason, that was the hardest color to decide. I kept black, blue, anything seemed like too much, so I just made it a very vibrant red, and I'm so happy that I used the red. I was going to add some gold touches, but I think it's just perfect this way. So, oh, you can see the gold reflecting now. Yeah, I would highly recommend those Deco Color paint pens. So I'll link them below also. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun. I loved talking about Russian Christmas and the holiday that I celebrate too. So if you guys celebrate anything different, please let me know. I love to hear about what you have to say. Thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow with the Maid a Milking, and I hope you're all safe, and I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.